You're listening to the MLS Fantasy Insider, bringing you weekly tips, tricks, and advice for the official MLS fantasy game. Hello everyone. Welcome to the show tonight. Let's see here, still making a couple of little updates to or changes to a few things. Let's see here. Pancake FC. There we go. That's got the zoom. There we go. That's got it like I want it, or at least a little bit better, more than how I had it right there. We go. Got it. Okay. So getting the social out. Welcome everyone. Starting a little bit early tonight. Ashley's got a new schedule, and so we're happy to be able to have her a little bit earlier.
Summertime.
That is right. So let me get out the social on Twitter has gone out as always. Always happy if people can like and share. That helps the algorithm. And of course, welcome for the first time if you're joining us for the MLS Fantasy Insider. We come to you live pretty much every Monday as throughout the MLS Fantasy season, especially when we have double game weeks that come up. This is not one of those weeks though. So this is just a regular Monday, and we are happy to share this time slot with everyone. And so let's see here.
Hit it.
Since I forgot last week and had to do the pulling the audio from the YouTube.
Recording in progress.
There it goes. I can't believe nobody mentioned it last week. I mean, if you guys did mention it, then maybe I didn't. Maybe I missed it. If you all did, but yes, no, we have a special guest tonight, and we'll let him talk in a second after we do the beginning. But all right, social is out. Please do share. I know that last week was super short, so not a lot to recap, but we do have a regular-ish. It's a regular round for MLS that's coming up, so we have some good stuff to talk about for tonight. So yeah, get everything awesome. Yeah, you've got one job and you blew it, Gene. Exactly. I was actually thinking, I was like, Gene is usually the one who like gives us a holler out, but did not happen last week. But it's all good. I'm able to pull the audio off of the YouTube. It's not quite as seamless with the editing, but it works, so not a big deal. But if there was a little drop in quality, that's what that was. So, all right, well, we got everything together, so we will get started. Hello and welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preview of round 17 of the MLS Fantasy season. This episode is brought to you by MLS Fantasy, where international breaks don't mean a thing. Sorry. Actually brought to you by the amazing fantasy supporters of Patreon supporters of the MLS Fantasy Insider. Got that mixed up. It's because of you guys that were able to keep this project going. Even if I am unable to get the words out, you guys are still there to help us make sure that we're coming to you every week. I'm your host, Reed Connolly from MLSFantasyBoss.com, and tonight I'm joined by my partner in fantasy, Ashley Savage. We'd also like to welcome our special guest, first-timer. We have Cooper, a.k.a. Pancake FC, from the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord. How y'all doing?
And Pancake.
Yeah, that's right. It's a twofer.
Cooper and Pancake.
And Pancake is there with us.
I told someone the other day we're like Penn and Teller. I think one's not as vocal.
Well, we are happy to have you both here. So yeah, though this is the first time that we've had Cooper on the show. I know we've had some familiar faces from the past, but we do also try to get new faces as well as we meet new fantasy players throughout the project that we have going on. So Cooper has his own fantasy project, which he'll mention probably right now and near the end of the show as well. But just a quick question, Cooper, for everyone who's listening to give you some of the credentials, but what got you into fantasy and what particularly inspired you to create content?
Well, for fantasy, I've been an MLS fan for a long time. I grew up in Costa Rica, and I picked FC Dallas as my original team. I'm a little bit of a Houston convert now, although I should probably keep that on the DL. But growing up, it wasn't always easy, especially back then, to like get access to the games. But I always put the effort in as a kid, and my parents helped me out. And through playing video games, and then getting older and wanting to play fantasy, that's kind of how I got into it. I got my wife into it too. That's my biggest get. Yeah. She's a big convert now. She's not really a sports fan, but she's an MLS fantasy fan. As for content creation, I've always really enjoyed making videos, especially when I was smaller with my grandparents, and especially like my granddad. On my dad's side, he would film me in little home videos and stuff, kind of role playing. That's kind of where I got into that, and then as I got older, I kind of kept the interest, but I picked it back up pretty recently for this. If my name is Cooper again, or Coop, but y'all know me by Pancake FC. That's my YouTube channel name, Discord name. Originally, I would say I started it as kind of a project for my mental health. To be honest, I have OCD, so that can be tough sometimes. And I chit chat to Pancake, this one right here, all the time. I talk to her about how my games are going, my fantasy team's going, especially if things are going bad. I'll rant to her and my poor wife as well. And it's like she suggested maybe it'd be better if you maybe directed that towards like a camera. So I kind of started it there, and I've been super grateful for the response to it and all the viewership. It's been really great. I've been really happy to it or with it, and I think that's pretty much it where I am now.
Well, we are happy to have you on the show, happy to have you as part of the community, and happy to have Pancake with you as well on the show tonight. We'll see what she ends up being able to contribute as far as maybe some differential picks or something right there. But
Now, Cooper, I want you to be honest. You said off air, I have 2 MLS named dogs. And there's been times, mostly with like captain choices, where I legitimately could not decide, and I will write down names on paper and make Wando choose for me. Have you ever done this?
So I've tried, and I think I think that's a great idea. The problem I realized, and I like live message this in the Discord too. So if you're listening and you know, Pancake always picks the option on the right every time. I figured that out. Yeah, every time. And she can't shake with her left hand either. She's a right pawed dog.
Sure.
Every time she does it. So yeah, I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but I haven't been. We're not gonna be able to do like the octopus who picked all the World Cup stuff.
Yeah.
She's just gonna pick the one on the right every time.
Can't do it, yeah.
Or Blaine having his kids try to pick stuff as well. So I mean, when Lily used to make captain picks. So.
Exactly.
Well, fantastic to have you on the show again. Let's do a quick recap, and I do mean quick recap of this previous round, because 16 just came and went just like that. It was a short round. It was a strange round. Some people did well. Some people didn't do well. Some people did fine and maybe think they didn't do well. Let's go ahead and share your scores in chat, and Cooper, just kick us off with tell us how you did.
Yeah, so I did all right. I ended up with 61 points. That was up a couple from corrections. I was on 59. I didn't win my Discovery League head-to-head, but that was all right. The player I was playing smoked me. I never had a shot. I carried a torch for New England all week long. If Christian's in the chat, he and I were going at it about New England versus Red Bulls all week long, and I do feel a little bit vindicated in that, but I can't really super enjoy it because I also carried a torch for Jesus Ferreira all week long.
Mm-hmm.
That did not work out. I did captain him as well. I think I'm not mad about it. I don't mind it at all. It was a good week to take a risk on a captaincy.
Absolutely.
And it was week rank 387. I went up a few spots to 163, which is good. I've been on a little bit of a skid the last few weeks, but so that kind of halted it. Captaincy play didn't work out, but I hit on Ilyar Mendy and a couple New England defenders. So overall, I was pleased with it.
What were some of the takeaways and player standouts that you had?
I think for sure Ivacic had a big game for New England. He's been really good since he transferred there. I am a keeper, as are a lot of people in the Discord, I've noticed. But in the Union. I do.
My team name is She's a Keeper.
Oh, that's a great team name.
Thank you so much.
Team name. I do pay a lot of close attention to keeper play, and I've his off the field stuff with Ivicic, take it or leave it, but I thought that was a good pickup for New England, and it's really worked out. He had a good game. He's had a few good games for them now, and their defense held up against the Red Bull C team. So Ivicic was one for sure. Leuven, to me, looked pretty sharp for St. Louis, going up against who was it? It was Portland. He shoots more from free kicks than any other player in the league. Was my big stat that I've been peddling all week long, and I'm pretty sure he had one that rang off the post or the crossbar, so that could have been a big pick, but he still got 5 points, which is pretty solid, a good floor. And then another keeper, Martin Paz, had a solid game for Dallas. He's been doing pretty well for them for a while, so those probably to me were the standouts. And then Carlos Hill, of course.
Ashley, what about you?
Yeah, I had 60 points, which felt like 100 points in this round. I stayed at overall 26, which is about where I've been up and down with, for the last couple of weeks. I put, Tyler's gonna yell at me. Illaramendi, would you say that's probably pretty close? Illaramendi for FC Dallas in my midfield as a bench play when rosters came out, because the bench midfielder I had from Minnesota wasn't playing, and so that worked out well. He got 11 points, I think, which was for this round phenomenal, right? Any double digit was pretty great for this round. And then I kept Totland, even though there was a lot of anti-St. Louis defense push, and I had Ivicic on my bench, rolled the dice there. And then, again, a 5 is nothing crazy, but for this week, for middies, loving with a 5 was pretty fantastic. I did the one mistake, I've captained Evander, which I still kind of stand by, even though it didn't end up being the better captain choice. But that's what made the most sense to me. We've talked on here a lot, or I've talked on here a lot about the tendency to go for a player because of what they were last season, that it kind of takes a half a season to really get a feel for some of these bigger name players, and are they the same as they've been in years past. And I've talked a decent amount about how I'm not sure Carlos Hill, mostly because of the situation he's in, not because of the player he is, that he's not quite the fantasy producer that we're used to. So, of course, he gets an 11 and he's everybody's best captain choice. So that's great. But I think I was talking to Reed, and we had a conversation about Rui Diaz or Jordan Morris. And I was like, Rui Diaz, Jordan Morris only did that one time. He's not going to score there. And then he did. And then I had a different conversation with someone else about Joao Paulo or Rusnak. And I was like, well, everybody who has a Seattle mid is going Rusnak. So Rusnak. Then Joao Paulo got an assist. So I just was kind of off on my game. I did really want Johnny Russell for a period of time, but backed off of it. So I feel like my radar was somewhere in the middle going into this weird week. I was also impressed with Ivicic and New England defense. I know a lot about Javier Arriaga, way too much. And I was not high on him for this matchup or this round or since he's been in New England. And he definitely, proved me wrong. Had an assist, had a shutout. Great game for him. Again, like I said, Illaramendi, if I just say it with confidence, it'll sound right. FC Dallas midfielder, definitely impressed me, panned out for me, got some good bonus points. That was great. And then, like I said, St. Louis defense and Berkey were not incredibly favored and ended up pulling that out against Portland, which was surprising. But, I had Rodriguez and Evander, so not great there. But I also had a St. Louis defender, so I kind of evened out. And just my general reaction thoughts are just that this week was weird and small, and it didn't even follow the script of FMLS. So, because MLS, I don't know. It was a weird round, and I'm ready to be done with it, even though it was okay for me.
Yeah, you guys have captured most of anything that I had to say about this. I ended up on 55. I feel like that's kind of an average score. If you got in the 50s, you did fine. this week. You did fine if you got in the 50s. If you did more than that, great. That was great. I had the mixed bag, as many people, probably fairly chalky at the end of the day, but I did go with New England for a keeperoo, and I decided to take that flyer at halftime, and it paid off with that New York game, even though New York did well and it was pretty even production with probably New York edging it out. But New England was able to hold that on right there. I did the Evander captain. I didn't have any St. Louis defense either. And that was because of Evander. I mean, that's what it was. As I saw a lot of people with Totland, and I totally understand that both teams got the shutout, and so there was that. But in my mind, I had thought that Evander and Rodriguez were going to be pretty potent, and I just didn't want to bet against. With so few teams, I felt like I was betting against my a clean sheet. I was betting against the team there, and so I just put some more in there, and I ended up just running 3 defenders in the back and 2 scrubs, and just put everything else into offensive players to have people scrub in. Unfortunately, even though St. Louis got so many opportunities, none of them fell into the back, and so Klaus was left on my bench with a 3, who ended up coming in because my other one was Rui Diaz. Because I was on the fence back there with Morris, Rui Diaz. I had Rusnak as well. No beef there, because that's who I was going to roll with regardless with that. But I did have Heel, who came off the bench as well with those 11. But yeah, I mean, this is just a blip. I think it may have gone down a couple of positions, but I'm still in the top 100, so not a lot of shifting really going on here. So if you didn't knock this one out of the park, not a lot of people did. So it's not something that I would lose sleep or worry about. And there's not a lot of other takeaways we can have from here because of the international break, which is still going on, and there are still some players who are not going to be here. But we'll be sure to cover all of those just coming up in our next segment. But this is just. These are the kind of weeks that EPL takes a break, that pretty much everybody else takes a break, but we push through, for better or for worse. I don't know. We can have that. Leave that in the comments below. Hit us up on Twitter with what you think, if you'd rather stop during these times right now. I think it's fine. I mean, there's games going on. It's better than not having any soccer at all. So I'm okay that we do this, but it is kind of
great
weird
about
for
weeks
fantasy.
like this is there's not a lot of OR changes because there's only so many players we can all pick from, right? Like, I kind of stress these weeks even less because it's just like, well, my team's going to be the same as 70% of people's teams, so.
It was a very chalk week.
Yeah.
For sure. So, but we're going to have a new round coming up. It's going to be much better. More teams are back in the fray, so we're going to be able to talk about differentials and strategies and all sorts of good things. But there are still international games coming up, and we will cover that, as I said, coming up right after this with our housekeeping section. Okay, give me a second to send a message. I'll do all the stuff.
Do all the stuff.
Mm-hmm. This is the good time right here. This is quality YouTube.
I was gonna say, why?
I could try to wake Pancake up. If you're
Pancake,
wondering,
wake up, do something.
if you're
Pancake.
wondering, we are in fact wearing matching hoodies.
Oh.
They're pretty close to it.
I love this. Pancake, what you wearing? She can't hear me. You have headphones.
No,
on.
she
I don't
can't.
know why I keep trying to talk to her. I've tried to talk to her several times, and I have yet to put that together until now. It's fine.
She's kind of wore out right now. She's always if you've watched any of my videos, this is all she does. It's just she just lays there.
I don't
She's
let
a sleepy
my older dog come in for the podcast, but anytime I come in here to have a meeting, Wando, he just wants to be here, and he just sits right next to me.
Yeah.
And sits there the entire time, and yeah, it's just proximity, right? They just want the
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Sorry about that. Had to send a little work message real quick. But there we go. Social media is out for our housekeeping section.
Now, Reed.
Well, I mean, I just this is what I do. I send little bits and pieces. It's important. It's important.
All right, Kentucky.
I'm just trying to keep an eye clinic open. Give me a break. I do what I can. Let's see here. Prep with that. Let me make sure I get the. There it is. That's what I want. And here we go. Hello and welcome back to our housekeeping going into round 17. Let's just start as always with a very abbreviated recap of just some of the MLS Fantasy Boss network of leagues. Had a lot of not a lot of movement in everything with the champions, veterans, homegrown, and Discord head-to-head. So we'll get to those next week, which means Tyler probably did well. So sorry. But we're going to talk about the head-to-heads that we have here. Discord head-to-head, Rain City Football Club, 15-0-1, leading that league there. Patreon head-to-head, Agata Walter My Rosarios. I love that name. That's a really good one. Leading that one with 13-1-2. And a little bit of movement in the MLS Fantasy Insider Hosts Experts Invitational League. But Skylar Redpath Draft Kicks is still leading it 14-0-3, though. I did claw my way into second place right there. Even with my 55, I was able to win my head-to-head.
But you know that we played each other.
We did.
The week I got locked out, and Skylar won, but he wouldn't have if my points had come in. So he is the first one to say
he
should have one more loss.
So we'll see how that gets reflected at the end of the season based on where his position is. So
just saying.
We'll find out if we have our first repeat on the host invitation.
Any chance I get to just bring that up again and be more of a martyr?
I think you should. I had someone who messaged me about that on Twitter this last week, being like, "I've been able to play for weeks," and I was like, "Are you sure?" Because Ashley was all over this.
No, you can do it.
Delete your cookies. Check your TCP/IP reports.
Don't delete the cookies.
Do you want this dog? You can't have this dog. It's Pancake, and he belongs to Cooper. She belongs to Cooper. So, all right. I was committed to that bit. Let's talk about what's actually coming up for round 17, and the start date is Friday, June 14th at 7:30 p.m., and that is with New York City FC versus Columbus. In fact, that is the only game on that day. Everything else comes to us on Saturday, the 15th, with the typical Apple TV schedule of games. So this is going to be an easy one to have keeperoos and switcheroos with, because we've not only have the early one game on Friday, but it's not a double game week. We do have a team on a bye, and that's Portland. So you've got an early game, you've got a bye team. This is absolutely perfect for being able to set up any of the aroos that you want to do, as long as you find some that are appealing to you. Nothing else going on with other leagues except for the whole international thing that's going on. So this is the second game of the international games that are going on. And so we have some players who are starting to come back into the fold, some players who are still gone. And so we're going to go through some of those names just as a general reminder. But before we do that, I do want to say that we did have not really any injuries last week, thankfully, but we do have some red card suspensions and yellow card accumulations that you need to be aware of. Danny Pereira from Austin had a yellow card accumulation. Joseph Rosales from Minnesota, yellow card accumulation. Ariel Lassiter from Montreal, red card. Matt Polster from New England, yellow card accumulation. Jack Elliott, Philadelphia, red card. Bernadeschi, TFC, red card. And Nikosin Gomes, TFC, a red card as well. So a few little things right there to keep an eye on. Did I miss one?
Reed Baker Whiting for Seattle, red card. He's not in your fantasy team, but he did, and it was awful.
Well, even more so because
I left that out on purpose from just trauma. Another Seattle red card. Wild. It's just, anyways, go ahead.
Trauma right there. So those are the cards to be aware of. As far as the players to be aware of, I'll go over it really quick right now, because you can head over to the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord in the main MLS channel. go up to the little pin, the little push pin, tack pin symbol near the top of the screen next to the search bar. Click on that. Participate in the round 17 player poll while you're there. But if you scroll down a little bit, Christian has curated an international duty round 17 list. You can start going through there and seeing a lot of the players and the teams that they are supporting right there. So just some of the players to note with this round. We've got Wiley out with the U.S. at the Olympics. Cascante out for Austin at Copa America. Pereira out with Copa America for Austin. Shaqiri out for Chicago with Switzerland at the Euros. Miles Robinson out for Cincinnati at Copa America. Bassett and Bombito both out for Colorado with the Olympics and Copa America right there. That's going to impact some teams, I think. Morris and Schulte out for the Olympics with U.S. with Columbus. Tillman out for LAFC with Copa America. We've got, of course, Messi, Rosales, and Suarez all out for Copa America over there with Miami. Some big hits for their offense right there. We've got still some people missing for Minnesota with Brand, Uelese, and St. Clair out with Copa America. Missing in Montreal, Chienair, Lassiter, and Piet are all out for Copa America. Down in Nashville, we have Moore, Schaffelberg, and Zimmerman who are out for Copa America and the Olympics. Ravas is out for the Euros with New England. Then over with New York Red Bulls, Morgan is out for the Euros. Tolkien is out for the Olympics. Coronel is out for Copa America, which was a later announcement last week that messed up a lot of plans for people. Burke is out for Copa America. But I do believe that we have Forsberg returning.
We do, because
Yes.
Sweden didn't make the Euros,
Since they
and he
didn't
was
make
just
it.
there for friendlies.
So he is coming back in. He still has a red dot, but just keep an eye on that one, that Forsberg is still in the mix for this round. A whole bunch of people gone for Orlando there. Arujo, Galese, Torres, just all sorts of stuff right there. Big hits for Copa America, the Euros, and the Olympics. A whole bunch of people gone for Philadelphia as well with Gazdag, Hariel, Martinez. Lots of people, Copa America, Olympics, Euros. Check out that list right there. A few people gone for Portland with Rajo, Crepeau, and Miller. Guerrezo out for San Jose. Then for Toronto, Johnson, Larea, and Osorio. Big hit there for them with Copa America out. And then Kubas out for Vancouver with Copa America. So that was not everyone. I just kind of went through some of the names that people are familiar with, might be looking at with these teams back in the mix. Check it out yourself. We're going to be talking about the players to target, but there's still rotations, still because of MLS craziness going on. So be aware of this. Be sure to check lineups when they come out, not just for some of the card issues that we had last week, but for these rotations here. Could be some new faces getting their shot to come in that we're not expecting. So be sure to check out that, especially with your switcheroos. You can always go to the MLS Fantasy Discord, head down to the toolbox section and go to the mega reference. We have safe switcheroos from players who are no longer in the game. And as Ashley is often fond of saying when I say things like this, who's even looking at their budget anymore? So you're probably not necessarily having to find the 4.0, 4.5 million people, but we've got some value and some guaranteed players who will not play in that list, as well as the running call-up list and everything that's going there. But definitely go check out what Christian did. It's got a lot of icons, a lot of flags. It's very, very pretty on the Discord.
There's a lot of great emojis in it, which I really appreciated that he took the time to do that.
He did.
The
So
little team logos, it was really cute.
So yeah, do some nice things for him. Do nitro for the server and all that kind of good stuff to show how much you appreciate Christian's work there for all that he does right there. Ashley Cooper, anything else that I may have overlooked that you guys want to mention out call-ups or cards or anything like that?
I think it may be possible that some of the Olympics guys end up available. We were chatting about this earlier in the Discord, and I don't think we ever fully came to a consensus, but they've got another friendly, at least the American guys do, Tuesday, I want to say, maybe Wednesday, and then there's nothing until the Olympics start. So I still wouldn't probably expect those guys to start for their teams, but I think it's possible some of them end up on the bench. But I'm not 100% sure on what that timetable looks like for those Olympic players.
Yeah, good to know. Don't depend on it. Keep an eye on lineups. That is definitely the plan to approach this week as far as having a backup. That is the plan to approach this round with, for sure. But those people not in the mix, who are we targeting going into this round? And that's exactly what we are going to be talking about coming up next during our player target section right after this. All sorts of tongue tie. I need to do like old high school chorus warm up. All those little things. I got a little job.
I'm trying to think. In theater, we had one that was like a classic tongue twister. Peter Piper picked a peckle.
Oh sure.
So we didn't do that. We just kind of went through stuff, being like mo me me mama mo me mama, all through that. Did like the do re mi thing, but with mo to re ra.
Hi, my mom was an English teacher, and I was an English teacher and an English major. And my husband had the podcast on a couple weeks ago, and she was in there with them, and she goes, "Sweetie, I thought we worked on how much you say And I was 37. And I was like, "Excuse me, sorry, I'm out of practice. I don't pay attention to it anymore. I'm not a child."
Yeah, I had that going through my undergrad work too, so it's all good. It's all good. But here's the good tongue twister you can work on for next time, and that's Moses supposes his toasts are roses, but Moses supposes erroneously. Moses, he knows that his toasts aren't roses, as Moses supposes his toasts to be. So there you go.
That
skill. Do you put that down as like a special skill?
You should. That should be on your resume.
No, that's just singing in the rain. So we'll.
Oh, that's cheating.
I mean, I still did it. I'll work on the German one next time for the.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll feel.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll see what I can do. Okay. Sorry. This is quality content. This is quality break content for the MLS Fantasy Insider. So, okay, getting out the social for our final round. Having to do it manually now since the Twitter X API shenanigan things.
I feel like you've got a lot of X hate.
Do it anymore. Grumble. All right, that is out. Let me get the text box change. Nope, that didn't do it. Let's try that again. There it goes. Round 17 player targets. Okay. Same. Yeah. Let's go. That's right. Thanks, Strix. Here we go. Let's see here. Okay. Hello and welcome back for our final segment, talking about player targets going into round 17. Starting as always with keepers and defenders. Cooper, who are you looking at?
I like Gavran from Toronto. I've been targeting Chicago kind of on and off really throughout the whole season. Toronto are a super strong home defensive team, and I just like his chances. In a couple of games he's played too, he's played very well. I think the last game that he started, he was a little shaky, but aside from that, he's really been excellent, I would say. So I definitely like Gavran against that Chicago attack at home. I like Zach Steffen as well this week for Colorado. If they're hosting Austin, if you took every team and you split them in half, home and away, and those were separate teams, Austin away might be the worst team in the league. So I think loading up on some Colorado defensive prospects and Zach Steffen is not a bad idea. I'm definitely interested in Steffen for sure. They are at the there's only in I think a 2-hour gap between Toronto's kickoff and then Colorado's kickoff. So for 9:30 keepers, I've looked at John McCarthy from the LA Galaxy. They're hosting SKC. SKC do usually get a goal though, but none of those last window goalkeeping options look great to me.
Ashley,
I'm going a little bit of a different way. I'm going Kalina to Fry. I have been vocal about the Charlotte defense, but I haven't been obnoxious about it. And I'm well aware that as soon as I do that, they'll concede. But the Charlotte defense at home has been spectacular this year against teams that they shouldn't be spectacular against. So I think it's kind of getting hard for me to ignore that. I see, the obvious keeperoo is Freese for NYCFC, but I don't love that matchup, and so it's not enough for me to go that way. And so of the early games for me, the one that jumps out the most is Charlotte at home against a DC United team who does have people missing for international duty. I also like Gavron. I've been very high on him many times this season. So that's a very decent shout from my perspective as well. But I'm just very heavily leaning Kalina. Of the late teams, if you want to trickily time it, I definitely think going into Stefan is a good play for the 4:30 games. But after getting absolutely hosed by the Red Bull the other day in what should have been a fully timed amount to see if that shutout held or not, I don't think I want to cut it that close. I just think I'm going to get scared off of it. I don't hate Seattle at home against Minnesota. Seattle is definitely struggling, but their defense tends to be a little stronger. The game this past weekend, it was a tough environment and they're down a man. So as long as they can keep 11 players on the field with everyone that Minnesota is missing, I do feel like Stefan Fry is a valid fallback, but one I'm hoping I won't have to use. For defenders, it is very chalky and they are missing people, but I like Kai Wagner. With the people that are missing, I anticipate him getting in the attack more, set pieces, corners. I like Malanda. That's who I have tended to go with from Charlotte. I think Privet is another decent option there. I'm leaning Reagan if I don't use Fry. And then Sawyer's been asking for this for like several years, but I'm considering Maxo in my defense. Sawyer Savage's buddy and friend. And then just like Cooper said, I'm considering Toronto, and who do I like from that defense, and where do they fit in? Because like I said, I'm not leaning towards Gavin and Keeper, so who do I like from that backline? Because it tends to rotate. And it can get a little tricky. So that's probably where I'll end up, and then a scrub with someone.
So do you think Stefan Fry is going to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that last game was a little rough, and
Brian Schmetzer would never bench anyone because they had a bad game. It's unfortunate because sometimes I think you should. The exception to that rule for him, I think, is Nuhu, but he will. Steph Fry's the captain. Like, he's gonna back him. It was a terrible game. But I would be like falling out of my seat shocked if Brian Schmetzer would bench him for that.
Okay. Yeah. I totally forgot to talk about defenders. I'll put you hit some of the ones I was gonna hit for sure. But Kai Wagner is kind of a no-brainer right now. The BP machine. For a long time, I was banging the Brooks Lennon drum, conductor of the Brooks Lennon train, and then I hopped off, and now, I'm hopping back on. I like him again. Maxo is a great shout. He's either tied with or maybe edging Bobito as my favorite Colorado defender, and then I actually like Jordi Alba this week. I'm not sure what he's going to look like without Messi, because a lot of the Jordi Alba big moments come from his chemistry with Messi.
Yep.
But, maybe with him and Suarez gone, he's going to shoulder a little bit more. Maybe he's not. I think we're just going to have to see. But as a bench play, like a high upside type, move, I like him a lot.
So I think we're going to see two general chalky keeperoos this round. I think we're going to see Freese going to Zach Steffen. I think Steffen's going to be the chalkiest of the keeperoos this week. And so I think that the two versions we're going to see are a Freese to Steffen and a Kalina to Steffen. I think that people are going to be looking at that New York City game because it's on Friday, because it gives you so much versatility that if you're not going with Steffen, people may just be using Freese just to get that early clean sheet look, and then you have the entire field open up. So it could go to Gavrin right after that. So, but I think having some combination of Steffen, Freese, and Kalina will likely be the most chalk that we're going to see this week. I am unsure about New York City FC, and that is just simply because, I mean, Columbus has had some time to recover from CONCACAF, and they've got Cucho, and so they've not been hit awful by the call-ups. They've got the majority of their team right there, so I am not 100% sure that we wouldn't see a goal from them. So I am not sure about having about having Freese as the keeper. So right now I've got the Kalina Stefan rotation myself, but you guys have mentioned some excellent names right there. As far as looking at defenses, I mean, I'm looking at Charlotte, of course, for the reasons you guys mentioned. I'm looking at Colorado for the same reasons you guys mentioned, and Toronto. Like those are the first three teams. I was like, I want to bet against Chicago. I don't like Austin on the road, and just Charlotte's been crazy at home. So like, give me one of those right there. So like, those are the first three right there. If you're branching out from there, I think you do have a lot of options. You guys mentioned Wagner. You guys mentioned Lennon. I am still not huge on Lennon. I just think he's been so inconsistent this season that he's just not even on my radar. And Atlanta's been very inconsistent. They had that win before the little break here, which kind of surprised a lot of us. But I'm still not ready to go all in on with Atlanta, even though Wagner and Lennon are number 1 and 2 in points right now.
We talked about it when it happened too, but with Pineda being gone, I don't know what that does.
Yeah. To
Atlanta. Does it change anything? Are they going to make adjustments? Gigi's gone. What is that? Look, so.
Could be a new manager bounce. I'm a big believer in new manager bounce.
Me too. My husband will die by it. Like that is like his number one.
And don't, I mean, that's just happened with Dallas. That came out yesterday. New coach in Dallas. So I don't know if we'll be betting on their defense though going up against St. Louis, but I haven't heard any of those names out here just yet. But those are the three main teams that I'm looking at for defense. Wagner would also be in that list. Philly is missing a lot of people. Inter Miami is missing a lot of their attack, but they've still been able to produce when we've had some of these similar situations before for Inter Miami. So I'm a little hesitant with Wagner as well, just because of so many missing pieces and a red card that Philly is dealing with there in the back line. Potentially, you might look at Red Bulls if you want to. I know they're missing Coronel, which is a big part of that. Nashville's still kind of in this new look system. What's going to happen with Nashville? That's risky right there. And then there's always LA Galaxy. If you want to look at them, Sporting Kansas City snapped their losing streak last week, but will they do it again? It's going to be an interesting attempt. So you could look at, on the keeper side, on the defense side, you've got LA Galaxy. And Christian made one comment there. We're looking at Colorado, 100% check the lineups to see who is going to be there. We could see Abubakar coming back. I have Maxo right now in my team because of the history he has with being a fan favorite of this podcast, but definitely open to a lot of options. But yeah, those are the teams that I'm targeting. I think you guys are on track. Not seeing a lot of difference. I see one question. People know Austin are bad, but are we really betting on a Colorado clean sheet abilities? How do you guys want to respond to that?
I'm willing to. I'm willing to give it a shot. I mean, Colorado are pretty solid in general. I know that there's been a lot of games at home where they have conceded a goal, but I guess to answer the question, it is more betting against Austin than it is on Colorado, but I am simultaneously confident enough to give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, they only have 2 shutouts in their last 7 games, most of which were on the road. But I mean, I don't know. I agree that we're not betting on them. It's more of Austin's road form and the fact that Colorado defense is somewhat starting to get their shit together, right? Like, it's not like, oh, Colorado at home, easy pick. That's, no one's saying that. It's more of just they're starting to find a little bit of form, and Austin's road form statistically is poor.
I mean, the last 5 games, gave up 5 goals, gave up 3 goals, gave up 3 goals, gave up 2 goals. So, I mean, they are very leaky. The Colorado move is, I think, going to be common with people who are not going with New York City. as the first leg of their keeperoo, because you're limited to all these games, and a lot of them are going to be looking at Kalina or Gavrin, and they're looking at the next set of games. 9:30 is kind of tough with that, and so that's where we get people like McCarthy and Fry who are coming in right there. Dark Horse may be going to Cincinnati with Celentano as a road to San Jose, but there's so many people I'd look before even going with an away keeper that's like maybe that's going to be in a differential article, but I would totally go with Fry before I would go with something like that. But that could change. I mean, those are a lot of heavy stats lined up against them, and that is just trying to make it work with the Aroos. It is the fallback for a lot of people, and who knows, Fry could be better. Well, the conversation will evolve over at the Discord. So good question. Glad to shed some light. Let's move on now and start talking about midfielders. Ashley, who do you like?
Yeah, in typical Ashley format, I put 4 midfielders on my team, and then I've cycled through a 5th midfielder over and over and over again today. Heel, Mihailovic, Acosta, and Puig were kind of straight in. Mihal is one that hasn't hit for me, but I like him in this game, so I'm trying to get more on board with it. And then my fifth midfielder spot has alternated between Forsberg, Gomez. Do I want Almada? How fit is he? What does their lineup look like? Like Cooper said, the coach getting fired, bounce back. How real is that for them? So I think that there is a couple other names that I'm missing, but that's who keeps floating around for me for that 5th midfield spot.
Cooper.
Yeah, I echo Carlos Hill for sure, and Mihailovic for sure as well. I really like Mihailovic this week. I don't know maybe someone in the comments has a little bit more insight, but Navajo did miss a penalty last week, so I don't know if that's gonna take him off it. Does Mihailovic come on to pens? I have no idea. But if there's a chance that happens, then I do think that raises Mihailovic's stock. And I've got Almada, like you said, with the bounce, and I am, like I mentioned, a Houston fan, and we're not great on the road, really not. So I think it actually could be a tough matchup for us, and I like Almada in that game. Acosta, Pooch for sure, and then this one's a little bit dependent on how you want to analyze this matchup, but I think Edouard Leuven could be a real differential pick. FC Dallas really, really struggled against Minnesota to play out of the press, and they tried to play out the back exclusively, and it did not work. And St. Louis press higher than any other team in Major League Soccer. So if you buy into that, FC Dallas are going to have a tough time getting through St. Louis at all. So I think Leuven actually could be a fun, big-time maybe bonus point guy, or just kind of a different fun differential if you buy into that. So those are the guys I'm considering.
Of course, and now is the time to mention Dallas did fire their coach yesterday. Assistant coach is taking over, so we could have a completely new look formation with Dallas, as we saw happen with Nashville as well as how they just switched things up. So that'll be interesting to see if they go even more conservative against St. Louis to prepare for something like that. But that's the good stuff. I can't wait. That's a game I think would be worth watching just to get some fantasy details right there. So for me, 2 names were automatic, adding on the team, Puig and Acosta, just going with the form that LA Galaxy has going up against Sporting Kansas City, who broke their win streak, still gave it away. I have more quality in LA Galaxy, I think, going up against Sporting Kansas City, so I still very much like that. And then Lucho's back in the mix, still almost an auto ad for me, with just the quality that he has and some of the other pieces that Cincinnati are getting back, especially if Kubo's back in the mix. That just opens up the field so much more to give him room. So those are the first 2 I immediately put into my team. Right after that, I think Heel's in the mix. I think Mihailovic is in the mix. I think Forsberg's in the mix. I think Gomez are in the mix. Those are some of maybe the second, if I'm taking a page from your book, Cooper, with kind of how you're ranking everyone down your tiers, like that would be my next tier right there with who I'm looking at with filling out that roster. After that, there's some players that I don't dislike, but I still need to mull it over with. And so Santi is one of the ones who's on that list. I like Santi, Columbus is missing their starting keeper. New York City is at home with that weird field that they have. And Santi's got good qualities, so I can definitely see the argument for getting him into the team. Bogusz has been on excellent form for LAFC. That is a game that, even though they're on the road, Orlando is just missing so many people. Trying to triple up with LAFC could be an opportunity, but I've not always been confident in the midfield for LAFC. Going back to Dallas, as we were talking about, Ashley, with I'll let you say the name.
Hold on. It was spelled out for me phonetically.
Oh, they spelled it out for you. I was just going to let you do it because I thought it was funny since you've been the one getting to trip over it today.
Nah, she called a friend in chat.
Iaramendi.
There we go.
Iaramendi?
Iaramendi.
I do think Iaramendi is one to take a look at and see. I do, even though they've not had as many clean sheets, I do feel like St. Louis can be one of the better defenses to go against, but I think he could be a bench play that you have there. So that's kind of how I've been thinking through a lot of these players. You could double up on LAFC on LA Galaxy if you wanted to go with Paintsill and Pooch right there. I know I haven't mentioned Gauld a lot because he's on the road against New England. New England has been kind of struggle at times, so I could see the thought process of getting Gauld. I think Mukhtar's maybe too much of a risk if you're going through there, but I think a lot of these other guys that we mentioned definitely have a place in your team. But that's how I thought to it. Those first two guys are off the bat. Those next four players are who I was first looking at, and then two or three guys that are kind of on the bubble for who might be a fifth player right there for me. Looking at chat real quick. Let's see here. Yeah, there's mention in chat, Haney Mukhtar has changed a lot with the new manager. Mukhtar not being in that more supportive, I don't know if I want to call it defensive role, but Mukhtar not playing back is the Mukhtar we want for fantasy. Up front, in the attack, part of the counter, just part of the press. That's the Mukhtar that we want. That's the Mukhtar that showed up against Cincinnati. And that's what you would hope for if you're having him. On the road, I don't know if I want to throw that bet when I do think there are quite a few better home midfielders that people could go with. Let's see here. Espinoza. Comment about Espinoza. Home to Cincinnati. Ashley?
Pass.
Coop?
Big pass. I'm a known Espinoza hater. And it's not as a player. I think he's great. I think he's a great player. I mean, as a fantasy asset, and it's burned me a lot this year. But now that Hernan Lopez has come in, I think we've seen Espinoza's points decline a little bit, and I think that has helped my agenda. So I would say in general, especially not against Cincinnati, that is a tough matchup. I'm not feeling it.
So no, 100% agree. Let's move on to talking about our forwards. Coop, who do you like?
I like Chicho Ranga quite a bit. I've developed a special relationship with Chicho because I captained him during his first hat trick that week. That moved me up
well done.
That moved me up 800 spots, I think. So I've been a big fan ever since. And I'll tell you, I'll never forget that game because I just had nasal surgery. And I was like on painkillers, and that third goal went in, and I screamed so much that my stitches ripped.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
The blood
That
bomb.
was so exciting. Pancake does this thing whenever like I get too into a soccer game where I start hollering. She gets too excited. And she like starts nipping at my ankles. So it was just chaos. It was madness. So they're playing Real Salt Lake is going to Montreal. Montreal actually aren't really that bad at home. And recently I've been a big Joel Waterman fan, but Salt Lake's too dangerous. They've got that dog in them. I'm saying unironically there. That's something I've heard a lot. X-Dog, expected dog as a stat there. I think the highest expected dog team in the league right now. They come to play. Yeah, I think they're going to go at him hard. So I like Arango. He's got a great floor, too. I love forwards who get quite a bit of bonus points, probably above all else. So I'm big into Chicho this week. I also like Cucho. I like Cucho. I don't know if he's going to be turned Kuchon or Kuchoff this game. We'll have to see. I probably like him most as a bench play. But again, he's a guy who gets bonus points, and really just for that, I'm into him. I'm also into Insigne, another bonus point guy. Bernardeschi is, like you mentioned earlier, going to be out, so I think Insigne is going to shoulder the load. I like players who are like that guy on their team, and Insigne is definitely going to be that guy for Toronto. And the last guy I like, this is gonna be controversial. Christian's gonna flip out in the chat. I think a fun differential bench play could be Jesus Ferreira. And I know I just talked up St. Louis. It depends if you think the matchup's going to go the other. If you think FC Dallas are going to have a really hard time playing through the press, then I like Leuven. If you think that they're going to be new look, they're going to be more pragmatic, not try to play out the back the whole time. Jesus Ferreira is on some corners. He's on free kicks. He's on pens. He was all over the field against Minnesota. He inverted into the right back spot a lot. I can't imagine that they're going to do that again. He is still one of the elite players in this league. I know he's been coming back from injury, but I am still a Jesus Ferreira believer, even though I captained him last week and it didn't work. I think as a differential bench play that there's merit to it if you like the matchup the reverse way, if that makes any sense. So that's where I'm at in terms of forwards. And then also maybe Bouanga as a bench play. I know he's away, but you never know. I'm trying right now to, take my swings on forwards that are on the bench. I think that's a good spot to swing big, miss big without a ton of risk. And then the last guy that I was considering, but I'm not sure if he's going to play, is Christian Benteke. The reason I bring him up is because he always scores when you do not expect him to. And away at Charlotte, you really don't think he's going to score. So if you're playing like Benteke bingo, that means he's going to score this year or this week. So maybe, but at the moment it looks like he's vacationing in Jamaica or something. So I don't know 100% what's going on with that. But if he plays, I think he's a fun bench player. And that's pretty much where I'm at right now in terms of forwards. There's a lot of guys I'm considering.
So as far as where people are at, I have to say that right now, chat is at just rage against you for that pick.
I knew they would be too.
About Jesus. Like, everyone in the chat is like, stop, get him off the pod. Just no good OMG pancake. So that is definitely not an opinion.
I said it's an outside the box pick. I'm not putting my weight behind it. I said it's a bench play at best. But for anyone who chats with me in the Discord, I'm all about the hot takes and throwing in players that you haven't thought of. And I know Christian's fighting with me. We go at it every day. So it's expected. It's expected.
Christian,
but I will say, if he hits, I'm gonna be insufferable next week.
Good for you.
Fair. So that's fair. No, that is like rule. I don't know if it's rule number 1, but it's like in the top 5 rules for this podcast. Like absolutely 100%. Ashley, who do you like?
I definitely like Chicho. I really like kind of how you explained him from your perspective, Cooper, and I view him that way as well. He was the first forward on my team. As anybody who listens or pays attention to me in Discord knows, I am a Denis Bouanga fan to a fault. Like, to the point where it's not always smart of me to be. But I know it's a road game, which hasn't been his best, but with Orlando missing the people that they're missing, I do like Denis this week as a bench play. Will he turn into someone else? I don't know. But right now, that's who he is on my bench. And then that last spot is really up for grabs for me with a couple of people that you said too. I'm also a diehard Joveljic person. I don't hop on with Peck quite as much. And Joveljic's ability and inability to start is like just something that blows my mind. So it's really hard to say, but the dude scores. So considering him as my last spot as well, scrubbable too if I needed to, which is not ideal, but possible. I really like the Insigne shout. He's also in rotation for me for that third striker. And then I also like Cucho. I don't like that he's been hurt, and I don't like that he's on the road on that tiny-ass field. But I think that they're a team that is not as much affected by Copa and International, so I see that shout for sure.
I'm on the same page as you are, Ashley, with my picks. The first two I had was Arango and Bouanga, and then the third one was insert LA Galaxy forward here. Sort of whoever ends up starting, just based on how there's been some rotation there. I think the other name that I'd want to throw out there that we haven't mentioned, or if you guys did, I'm sorry, I was looking at chat and missed it, is Rafael Navarro. I know we mentioned him a little bit earlier with taking PKs. He's been on a great run of form. We've talked about being anti-Austin, and if it isn't already clear by now, apparently the MLS Fantasy Insider is like low-key Colorado Rapids fan podcast. So
who knew?
Who knew it was that? But
it's been a slow transition, but I do agree with you.
It has. I mean, every time Matt comes on, it's just one more chink right there. He's not somebody I would start, but I mean, if you look at Navarro's stats, and so if you look at what he's done over the past, I don't know, let's look at 5 games. The last 2, this double game week, just one, didn't do much at all. He got 3 points total. He played 70 minutes, then he played 22 minutes. What that tells me is as long as he's not injured, he's got some rest coming into this game after this big, long break that he's had. But before that, got a goal against Minnesota, got a goal against Real Salt Lake, got a goal against, he just has a string of 5 consecutive goals going into this little dry spell, the double game week that he had right there. So not the best double game week for him, but he's got form going against Austin that we have tagged as weak. So I can see how that is a way that he can win that third forward spot for you, especially if it's going to be a switcheroo spot right there. So again, it's one that makes sense. Just quick glance through the rest of the list. So many other people are missing. I know I saw Carranza's name mentioned in chat. Interesting pick, definitely a differential. I think right there, going up against Miami. I think I like some of the other names you guys mentioned more than Carranza. But Ashley, do we have Rui Diaz or Jordan Morris in the mix here?
No.
Absolutely not. No love right there. That's fine.
Someone shouted out Kevin Kelsey.
So
actually kind of.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, what about like that? Yeah.
I was gonna say that if I was looking at a road player, then Kelsey would probably be one of the ones I would add on that list. Just because he's been on a run of good form, he is clicking well with the rest of the team, and he's pulling people away. So, 100% differential and 100% a bench play if you want to roll with that. I honestly think you can make a better argument for some of the other players like Navarro. I think you'd have a better argument for going with a Navarro over a Kelsey.
Or Jesus Ferreira.
I don't know about that. But
I wanted to work for him.
If you're going to be talking about who are we legitimately competing with Kelsey as an away forward, before even putting in Ferreira in there, I'd be talking about Klaus, who has just been on this run of nothing, but at least the guy shoots. I'd be entertaining that conversation first, but I like Kelsey, like him so much more at home. Still a bench player for me, and maybe he's going to be in Tyler's articles this week, but I do like some of the other forwards better. All right, let's wrap everything up with our captain targets. Coop, who do you like?
Ricky Pooch is my number one at the moment. I kind of decided a few weeks ago, maybe during the double game week, he hit pretty good, that if Messi isn't playing, then Pooch is just my default captain. So I'm probably going to just stick to that. Honestly, maybe the best player in the game. He's got the best floor, that's for sure. He just passing bonus point monster. I made a whole YouTube video about him this last week. I'm a big Ricky Pooch fan in fantasy and outside of it. That's what my head says, and a little bit my heart. But my heart also says that Mihailovic would be a fun captain pick if you really, really don't rate Austin. And to be honest, I really, really don't rate Austin, especially not away. So I kind of like the idea of capping Mihailovic, but that would be the big swing for me, Cap. I'm probably not going to do it. I'm probably going to stick with Pooch. And then the other swing is I kind of think Insigne could be a fun captain swing, like if you think that he's going to hit big against Chicago, but those are the only two I was thinking besides Pooch. Pooch to me stands out as the obvious pick for sure.
Ashley.
Yeah, Bogart tweeted this today that Ricky Puig is first in all of MLS, at this point of the season, is first in all of MLS in touches, passes attempted, carry distance, and passes into the final third. I understand that not all of those are direct correlations to fantasy data, but they're close if they aren't. I like him. I like LA's matchup. I like LA at home. He's the one that stands out for me. Now, not to get all devil's advocating on myself, we've kind of seen that the go-to non-Messi captain choice isn't always the best captain choice. So, I think there's some good fallbacks to choose from, but I think because I'm, a coward, that's probably where I'll land.
Yeah, Pooch is who I have right now. I honestly haven't given thought for a number 2. If it might be Mihailovic, it might be a forward. I'd have to look right there. Had a name pop up in chat, and that was Sebastian Kowalczyk. He's the midfielder for Houston, and everyone wants to have you comment on that, Pancake.
The Kowalczyk Kowal in the chat. There's someone in Discord who's obsessed with Sebastian Kowalczyk, and the funniest thing. No, we all are now. Now we all are. The funniest thing is after this person started commenting this, he started scoring.
Yeah.
He's put up
2 goals in his last 2 games.
I know. What the heck? It's whatever he's doing in the chat is working. The real Kowalczyk, he's getting the waves are being sent and something's happening. Is he a good fantasy option? No. but yeah. That guy did captain him the first time that he scored this year. So
I love it.
More power to you. But no, had to give you a chance to shout out that one because people were mentioning it in chat. So yeah, no. For me, it's definitely Pooch right there. After that, like I would struggle to go with Arango just because he is on the road, and so I do hesitate about having the road captain. Same thing with Bouanga as well. So I would probably be looking at Mihailovic possibly. Or that would make me want to have to start an LA Galaxy player, but that would be a very late captain. And so, how I feel about late captains always gets me anxious right there. So, we'll see. Please do participate in the Discord player poll and let's share your thoughts right there. All right, that's all that we have for the show today. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us tonight. And so we're going to wrap everything up with plugs. Cooper.
Y'all can find me on YouTube at Pancake FC. Just search Pancake FC. I'll pop up. Same thing on Twitter. I don't use it a ton, but that's pretty much where I can be found. If you want to watch some MLS fantasy videos, I upload, I think, 2 videos and a short pretty much every week. I try to get them out pretty quick too. And then right now I'm trying to also put out a edited, kind of post-production MLS video every week as well. And I do some ranking stuff. So again, just YouTube, just look up Pancake FC and you'll find her and I there.
Ashley.
We don't do this enough. Maybe because they're always on the show, one of them, but I would like to plug Christian and Tyler specifically. People don't know this about Reed and I, but we're like crazy lazy, like super lazy. And I'm joking. If you're listening, you can't see our faces. I'm kidding. But I can't remember the last time Reed or I looked up international call-ups and things of that nature because Tyler and Christian are so great at that. And I know, Brandon has helped at times too. And I know I'm probably forgetting other people who've interwoven in there. But there is a lot that Reed and I do that goes into this podcast. And it's just really, really helpful to have the two of them and other people who chip in. Contribute to those lists for everyone in the Discord community, but also for us on here. So I just want to give a shout out to them for doing that, especially on weeks like this when it's not just a couple of injuries and yellow card accumulations, right? We have a whole list for international. And again, the super cute little emojis Christian put in that list on Discord, that takes time. So I just want to shout them out this week.
No, that's a great one. As for me, check out MLSFantasyBoss.com for all of the projects that are related to the MLS Fantasy Boss Network. Of course, we have the articles, this podcast, and the Discord player poll, so participate in that. And go to the Discord. It's the easiest way to just get tied into this fantasy community. MLSFantasyBoss.com/Discord is the easiest way to do that. As I said last week, and as I will continue to say going forward, it is the best fantasy community on the internet. So just can't find a better place right there. MLSFantasyBoss.com/Discord. That's all that we have for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, good luck.